Hi, I'm Taliesin.
And I'm Evitel. And at the end of a tough year, we're here to invite you to join us at Taliesin and Evitel do games in honoring the real heroes of 2020. Taliesin.
Thanks, Evitel. Throughout all of the trials and tribulations of these challenging times, one group of people have proven themselves to be capable of going above and beyond in their kindness and generosity towards others.
These people have, time and time again, shown their selflessness and humanity in the face of unprecedented hardship, and we would like to say, on behalf of the entire World of Warcraft community, thank you.
Is it the frontline health workers, Evitel?
No, Taliesin, it's the people who AFK on their long boys in Oribos.
I know, I was only joking about the health workers. Of course, the real heroes of the year are those absolute geezers who leave their Brutosaur mounts up for all of us stranded in the Shadowlands to use, because going back to Stormwind or Orgrimmar would be a total ball ache.
It would. But these heroes mean we never have to, especially if you leave it by the one and only mailbox. Seriously, thank you.
Thank you. This year would have been a whole lot harder without you. Evitel, what are you doing?
Nothing. Tally, have you seen those pots?
Evitel, we've already been over this. You can't just go around destroying pots. It's not okay.
But there could be phantasma in them!
Evitel, no! This is why we're not allowed back in the British Museum.
Knowledge is power.
Hello Internet, Taliesin here, and welcome to another episode of the Weekly Reset, Taliesin and Evitel's Wondrous Wisdomshow, in a week where I am very happy to report that we get to reuse a video title. As you might have noticed, there was no show last week. My brother got the blood plague. He's doing okay, he's not in the raid team, it's no big deal, but yeah, it was a bad time, made even worse by the fact that we had a really good show, and more importantly, title for the show planned, which was The Raid is Too Hard and There's Not Enough Loot, inspired by the fact that when Normal and Heroic Castle Nathria went live last week, Heroic in particular was tuned a whole lot tighter than I think any of us were expecting, meaning that even just getting Heroic Denathrius down was no joke, taking over a day before anyone managed it at all. The Raid is Too Hard, combined with the loot drops, which Blizzard had told us would be around 3 for a 20-man group, but which people noticed when the raid went live were more like 5 for a 20-man group, and we're like, oh cool, Blizz decided to give us more loot. Thanks Blizz, you're the absolute best. This is the best expansion ever. But which Blizz then told us was unintended and that they were nerfing back down to 3 for a group of 20. Actually, is it a nerf if it's correcting a mistake? I don't know. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Not that it matters though, because it was a shit show, obviously. 3 items is a fishing joke. Abysmal decision. Anyone who thinks this is good is just fish. Bad. How in the actual flying monkey butts is 5 pieces for a 20-man group too much? Why not reduce it to 0 and call it a day? Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. You gone done and messed with people's loot, Blizz, and in the words of the finest actor of our generation, Kevin McAllister in Home Alone 2 Lost in New York, you can mess with a lot of things, Blizz, but you can't mess with kids' loot at Christmas. I'm pretty sure that's the line. So anyway, you can see how that would have been a fun episode, and, more importantly, video title. And I was really sad about that, and also about my brother, so you can imagine how happy I am that we get to basically do it all again this week, because this week, Internet, I am happy to announce the game is too hard and there's not enough loot. Because this week, LFR and Mythic versions of the raid opened up, and the race to World First started in earnest. But there were also multiple big changes to Torghast, the Tower of the Damned too, all of which we will talk about. But first, the reason I know that you're all really here, the race to World First, Heroic, for guilds with a name a bit like Immortalis. Featuring my own guild, the brave, handsome, nice-smelling, charitable Immortalis Argent Dawn EU. Yay! In our own personal battle against any other guild with a name a bit like ours. A race which used to be between us and like 2 or 3 other guilds, but since we've been doing this segment, this tier sees us fight for personal glory against no less than 10 other Immortalises. Now obviously this is changing all the time, day to day, but leading the pack at the time of writing is Umbra Immortalis with 4 out of 10 heroic. And yes, they are a horde guild on Argent Dawn EU, which means that we are not even the best Immortalis on our own server right now, closely followed by Immortalis Victoria on 3 out of 10, and reigning champions Est Immortalis completing the top 3 with the same. In 4th are Norska Immortalis with 2 out of 10, Taco Immortalis are 5th with 1 out of 10 heroic, and then behind all of those cheating guilds who definitely cheat is us in 6th place with 1 heroic boss out of 10 after completing normal this weekend. And you might think, that's pretty bad, and it is pretty bad, but don't forget, there are still 5 other Immortalises behind us. Basically, you guys need to stop making guilds with a name a bit like Immortalis. This is getting out of hand. And the thing is, we, as well as I'm sure other guilds on this list, are now on our holiday raid break. So basically, anything could happen, or nothing could happen, and when it does, we'll keep you updated. And that weird festive deadline that cut our progress short also looks like it could impact the Mythic race to World First too, giving proceedings just that little bit more edge than normal. Because, and again, all this will have likely changed by the time you see this, if I were you, then I'd head over to Wowhead right now to check on the latest standings using the link in the description below. But at the time of writing, 2 guilds are at 9 out of 10, with Stone Legion Generals proving to have been a major block, a very buggy, literally unbeatable block in Limit's case, and Limit and the Thundercats both having used Vantis runes on that penultimate encounter, which suggests no one expects final boss Sire Denathrius to go down this reset. Because if they believed there was a chance they would defeat Denathrius, then they'd have saved the runes for him. And yes, it's very risky me recording this segment while both those guilds are in the middle of progressing Denathrius. They'll both already be deep into their progress by the time you see this video. Limit will do their split runs after their reset on Tuesday, and Echo Cat's Ho will do theirs on Wednesday, and it's incredibly likely that one of them will get the boss down before Friday, and we'll all celebrate and it will all be over by Christmas. But fam, and I don't want to alarm anyone, okay, but that's what they said about World War I. And I can't believe I'm about to say this, but that means this is exactly like World War I, and I'm sorry, you were right, I should have listened. Because anything could happen. We don't know if Denathrius is going to be as bugged and unkillable as Sludge Fist was when Limit first reached it. We don't know what the Mythic only phase with the mirror is going to be. And Blizz, I know you probably didn't do this, but if you see this, there might still be time to add it. Please make it Garrosh, thanks. It might be that Denathrius is one of those fights that goes on for over a week. It could be that after 2 really tough fights before it, that actually the final encounter is massively undertuned, like Zarvis in Emerald Nightmare, and it'll all be over by the time you even watch this. Although that would be a surprise and also a little bit unsatisfying. So I'm gonna say that's not the case. Just leaving a little gap there to edit out if I'm wrong. Okay, cool. We just don't know. In fact, the only thing we can definitely say for certain about Denathrius and his daring plunging neckline is that he is one freaky boy. Like, choke me Denathradaddy memes aside, his other voice lines literally include scream for me and crawl to me on your knees. There are some Blizz Encounter designers who have very much got the lockdown thirst, and I think we can all sympathise with that. We could easily be looking at the guilds involved in this race having to raid over Christmas, which they definitely all will if they need to, the mad lads, foregoing family and celebrations and holiday to kill a monster in a video game. And I'm sure they would say that they don't mind that too much. Many of us can't see any family anyway this year because of world events. But it's still not ideal, is it? And with that context, is this raid too hard? Well, no, obviously not. Under normal circumstances, the encounters are fun and interesting. The environment is stunning, and the tight tuning around damage and healing checks in particular are actually really well designed and should be celebrated. Castle Nathria is a good raid, made better by the fact that heroic is so hard. One of the main reasons I think most people feel it's so tough though is the relatively slow rate of gearing so far in Shadowlands, especially compared to the Diablo style loot pinatas of BFA, a system that was roundly criticised by just about every commentator and routinely given as a major failing of that expansion, including on this channel, where along with just about everyone else, we called for Shadowlands to have less, more meaningful loot. And here we are. Considerably less items dropping from raid bosses and Mythic plus N chests. Oh, not to mention that cheeky little nerf to the chest in plus 10 and 11 dungeons this week too, taking the Scroogey amount of items in there down to item level 203 from 207, which, okay, does a lot better in keeping them in line with the end loop from other keys, and the important Great Vault item level is unchanged, but still. Jesus, we get it, you just don't want us to get gear! Odd way to spell work your ass off more than you do in a heroic raid and get fish all. You don't mess with kids' loot at Christmas, Blizz. But all that means there is a lot of focus on the weekly vault, which most of us have had a chance to test out a couple of times now, and fair play, it's awesome, isn't it? Having any kind of choice between which items you take, but especially if you have like 9, which you totally can, even if they are of wildly differing item levels. But the important thing about the Great Vault is that if you are even slightly doing the things that you need to tick some of those boxes, then it's not just a nice item level piece of gear that you're getting in there, but in all likelihood, you're getting a choice of gear slot to fill and secondary stats to take. The Great Vault makes it so much easier to pick up a vital and well optimized piece of gear that certainly right now at the beginning of the system, when we're all still scrambling for any upgrade we can find in these stingy instances, it feels great, and in the long run will actually make gearing much more efficient rather than the front-loaded M+ free-for-alls of Legion and BFA. I think that's better. The theme of targeting and optimization is emphasized with the way that PvP gear is acquired and upgraded, and in the way that legendaries are crafted too. Even if it can feel exasperating to run a whole raid and get none or one bad loot drop, you remember that in doing so, you've just unlocked 3 choices of gear from that raid in your Great Vault next week, and it actually feels pretty good again. I still think we should get Master Looter back, but I'm not going to go on about that. And of course, we are at the stage now too, where people are starting to make high-level legendaries or multiple low-level ones. And the soul ash that you need to collect every week to make that happen means just one thing: mission table missions. No, I'm only joking. Although, whatever. Look, I tried to get annoyed about Soul Ash missions on the table, and I just can't. I'm really sorry. So Night Fae players get a really easy, cheesable strat to end up with a couple of 100 extra Ash every week, while my guys keep getting their asses kicked and coming back empty-handed, if the missions ever pop at all, which they never do anyway, so fine. I didn't even want the missions though, so joke's on you, Blizz. Joke's on you, Night Fae players. Because I didn't even want the missions that never pop and that I can't complete even if they do. I don't even care. But actually, I don't even really care. I'm sorry, guys. I tried, but I don't. So really, it means only one thing: running Torghast. And this week, the 8th and final layers of Skoldus Halls and the Upper Reaches opened up, giving us the most challenging versions of the game mode so far, especially if you are a healer or a tank, specializations that were generally considered Torghast easy mode before last week, but which were nerfed to bring them more in line with many DPS classes so that they could experience the pure horror of Torghast just like the rest of us. Which many players have been complaining is too long and too hard. Denathrius, is that you? Which is actually quite understandable, because yeah, if you run 45 minutes worth of Torghast, taking pulls slowly and carefully and gradually progressing your way through, only to get completely destroyed by the final boss of the run and come away almost an hour older, but with no soul ash or anything else to show for it, which I have done, then yeah, it feels terrible. And if that keeps happening, which up until last week it did to thousands of players, then there's probably something going a bit wrong somewhere along the line, isn't there? Whether that be in the difficulty of the instance itself, or in the messaging about what layer players should be attempting at their item level and the rewards that they get for running it. Personally, I think it's a case of the latter, as I'll explain in a moment, but Blizz decided it was definitely the former, and this week made massive alterations to the Tower of the Damned difficulty to, well, basically just make it a whole lot easier, with mob health and damage nerfs, alterations to the way some of the mobs work, player cooldowns resetting each floor, and huge slashing nerfs to those end bosses. Blizzard said that a layer 8 will now feel like a layer 6 did when they first went live a week before. And honestly, if anything, that's underselling it, because I ran both wings in a group of 5 and blew through it like it was nothing. And while solo it was a little bit trickier, I still finished without a single death and no real hairy moments, which, as you can imagine, the player base, which for years has been calling out for more challenging group and solo content and railed against the dumbing down and oversimplification of this game we all love, were up in arms about. Awesome! You love to see it. Thank God, make Torghast fun, not frustrating. Ha, I tricked you. I played a Christmas trick on you. No, people love this change. Universally, across the board. Except me. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Taliesin, are you kidding me? You're surely just being a contrarian now, you dick, as if you don't like these new changes that everyone else loves, you clickbait shill man. Okay, maybe not shill in this particular instance, but you know what I mean. And okay, it would be wrong to say that I'm against the changes. They obviously make a lot of people very happy and enjoy the game more, and at the end of the day, that makes my day-to-day experience of the game more enjoyable too, and I'm happy about that. So no, I'm not against the changes. I'm definitely not saying that you are wrong if you love Torghast being basically a lot easier. I'm just saying that overall, the nerfs make me a bit sad, and I'll tell you why. There were some things about the mode that absolutely needed tweaking in my opinion. The fact that it was far too long is a major one. Like, I enjoyed The Irishman, it was a good movie. I wouldn't really like to watch it twice a week on all my characters, even if it were slightly different every time, and especially if there was a pretty high chance that I may not even see the ending. So honestly, I would cut floors 3 and 4 out of Torghast, so you have 3 floors and then the final boss. Chuck in more powers along the way to make up for the ones you missed by losing 2 floors, and boom, it's a much more reasonable length in my opinion. They didn't do that. Another problem was that some classes have a much easier time in there than others, but honestly, that's still the case by just applying blanket nerfs to health and damage. It has much more to do with those annoying mobs that need loads of interrupts, which not all classes have, or unnatural power making the mob immune to crowd control effects at 10 stacks, stuff that can and has been sorted by much more specifically targeted tweaks. There's the fact that if you do bite off more than you can chew in a layer, you can waste a whole lot of time with no soul ash as a reward. And this I also agree with. I think as well as making it shorter overall, this could be helped by making the overall difficulty of the layer more obvious from the very first floor. So if you're not going to beat the final boss of a layer, it's pretty unlikely that you'll get past the first room. So you don't waste all that time, and you know the level you should be at sooner. And making it more obvious in the messaging that actually the higher layers may be out of your league right now, maybe by having a suggested item level on the entrance screen. Because here's the thing that makes me sad. I enjoyed soloing the new nerfed layer 8. It was tricky but doable, and like I say, I didn't die at all and I got through in one piece. But this is as hard as Torghast is ever going to get. Every week that goes by from now on, I go in with better gear and it gets quicker and easier every time. Naturally, that's how RPGs work. I just did it deathless with, at the time, item level 188, which is not even normal raid level gear. It's not even LFR level gear. And I don't know, I honestly wouldn't mind if wearing sub-LFR raid gear and having, I shit you not, a 157 main hand weapon equipped meant that the hardest layer of Torghast was in fact beyond me. Like, I wouldn't mind if my shitty gear meant that I had to accept layer 8 was currently beyond my level and come back next week with better gear to try again. And yes, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, but Taliesin, there's soul ash in there, and we need soul ash. You can't gate that behind content that I might not be able to do. And you know, I kind of disagree with that, because it's not like you literally can't do it, is it? It's just that you can't do it right now in the really mediocre gear that is going to get a whole lot better in the coming weeks, naturally. And I think that's okay. It's okay to take your ever so slightly less soul ash. Still enough to craft a new legendary every week, by the way, and have a harder level to aim for when your character in the RPG is more powerful. Personally, I think that's okay, and actually a fundamentally fun thing about RPGs, which now doesn't really exist because I could do layer 8 with shitty gear the first week it was out. And that makes me a bit sad is all. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, but Taliesin, that kind of challenge is what the upcoming Endless Corridors version of Torghast is all about. And you're not wrong, but Ian has already said that the rewards from that are purely cosmetic, and that it's more like a Mage Tower one and done, which absolutely is something that I'm looking forward to, but I'd also enjoy more of a challenge and sense of progression in the thing that I have to run weekly too. I understand that's apparently just me though, so I'm gonna stop banging on about it now. I totally get that most people disagree with me on this, and that's cool. Like I say, this is a much nicer game to play when players are happy, so it's all fine with me. Evitel, this means this is another episode without you at your desk bit. We didn't get a desk bit with you again.
I owe you double the desk bits in the new year.
I look forward to double the desk
resolution.
bit. Oh, I mean, it has been a tough year for us. Not tough. I mean, it's been a tough year for everyone.
Yeah.
But it's been like a particularly fraught year for us, and particularly with
busy, lots of adjustments.
Yeah, you know, working with the baby and things like that. And as a result, we haven't done as many videos as we wanted to. But you know, in the new year, Annie goes into daycare.
He does.
And so we're hoping to try and get back into a more normalcy then, with more desk bits.
And more Mythic Plus for me.
And more everything. Yeah, at the moment.
And fewer depleted keys.
It is hilarious. How many keys do you reckon you've depleted this week?
So many. I'm responsible for so many depleted keys. I mean, I always give a disclaimer when I join a group that's like, look, the baby's gonna wake up. That's happened quite a few times.
Although we did totally finish the necrotic wake today.
I mean...
In fact, we didn't just finish it, we managed to finish it about half an hour after the timer.
We finished it.
So, but what I'm saying is the baby really stayed asleep.
Yeah. But it's interesting because I don't feel like I'm super behind. Like, you know, I've missed a few bosses in Raid, you know, I've missed a few things, but I still don't feel like I'm like clinging on.
I mean,
like I'm catching up.
You say you've missed a few bosses in Raid. Like we started Raid night last night on Sludgefist normal, which we were progressing, you know, we hadn't actually really properly pulled it before. We just got there before the end of last Raid night after our reclear. You were putting the baby to bed, and by the time, and you know, baby went down, it was alright. You always miss the first hour of Raid, but by the time you got there, Denathrius was down.
Well, he was halfway down.
I mean,
and I jumped on Discord and I was like, go guys, go.
Well, no, because first of all,
don't die.
You whispered me and you were like, hey, what boss are you on?
Just to see what DBM would say.
And my DBM automatically replied to you. It was like, Denathrius 30% or whatever. And you were like, oh, what? No. Did you think we were going to get it?
No.
We're only doing normal because we always start on normal before we go to heroic. So like now I feel like our raid progression has really started. Yeah. But even then, Sludgefist and then Stone Legion Generals and then Denathrius were remarkably easy. Yeah. I'm sure they won't be in heroic. They're much tighter tuned.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was fun, and so I got to see the little raid ending mission and things like that. It was cool. I won't tell you about it. Big spoiler.
Don't tell me because I know nothing.
Big spoiler. So this is the last weekly reset of Christmas time. There'll probably be one before the new year, but we're going to take like a week or so off for Christmas. As far as the weekly reset is concerned, there will be other Taliesin and Evitel videos coming out, kind of like more edited ones, like, you know, without camera and stuff, maybe like the cinematic analysis finally and stuff like that. A lot to talk about. It will be a better video for having waited this long, because we've got even more stuff to talk about with the end of the raid and things like that. And streams as well. So if you want to come and join us on our special giveaway stream, which we'll be doing before New Year,
Tell me more.
We've got EU game time and pets and mounts to give away. We've got NA game time and things to give away as well. All thanks to Blizzard, who loaded us up. And we are going to go, thanks very much, but we'll be giving this stuff away. We don't want it.
Want that.
It's like when someone gives you a present for your Christmas or birthday, and you're like, I got it already, or I don't really like it. I'm going to give it to someone else. That's what we're going to do to you. You're getting our sloppy seconds. I hope you enjoy. Nothing else to do. None of our family are coming to visit us for Christmas.
Well, no, it's just going to be the three of us.
Honestly, we were planning on seeing family. We've got a turkey like this big. We've got a 5 kilo
we were planning on
turkey.
Seeing your parents, but we were like, you know what? Okay, we've got a massive turkey. We have so many vegetables. We have enough food.
Wine.
Oh my god, we have cheese.
We've got
have all the wine.
How much pierogi have we got?
We have salami. We have 5 kilos of pierogi.
That's as much as the turkey weighs.
Yeah, so there are a lot of pierogi. So anyway, we're good for food. Don't worry about us. We're fine. London is in lockdown. But
we've got literally all the food
exactly,
in the world.
So we'll be fine.
The main problem is most of it goes off on the 26th.
Yeah. Yeah, so you have to just make everything.
So we're going to have to make like kind of squirrels and just like feed ourselves up and then go to sleep until New Year.
Just puree everything, freeze it, Feed it to baby Anna.
And of course, play WoW, and which I'm still doing, or like enjoying it so much right now.
I know, right?
It's so good.
It feels good right now. Like I say, even with all of the distractions, even with all the busyness, like I can't focus on it as nearly as much as I would like to right now. But it still feels really good.
How did you find the gearing? You complaining about the gearing the other
Oh,
day.
well, that sucks. I think we can all agree.
I don't. I like it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I like the
my
slow
God,
gearing. I think the slow gearing really works for me.
I've got a couple of slots in my Great Vault ready to go.
That's what they all say. Always ready to go.
Always
don't have to ask
ready
twice.
to go.
Oh, man. You can tell we've been doing Denathrius because we are thirsty. That guy.
Scream for me.
That guy.
Sir.
Oh wait, there's another one. Well, I have to look this up. I have to look this up.
Oh, I'll splatter them across your walls!
Oh.
Okay, so we just listened to all of the Denathrius and Memoria voice lines while that was happening, and they're glorious. We have to listen to all of them forever. You have to go and listen to them because they're all
so
sex.
Funny. They're all
sex.
Yeah, they're all just.
But and as the fight was happening, I was like, I'm pretty sure she's saying, "I will splatter them all across your balls." She doesn't. She says, "I will splatter them all across your walls," which is only just cleaner.
I mean, it's still, yeah, exactly.
It's
still...
only just better. Oh, and there's Denathrius promising us a glorious end.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, really, Denathrius? Tell me more.
2020, it's been a year, hasn't
Careful,
it, guys?
Denathrius, you don't want to splatter me all over your walls. Guys, thank you so much for joining us today and every day this year. It's been wonderful. It's been a joy to have you here. We will see you on this show before the new year, and like I say, all the other videos and streams as well. Come and join us. If you like this episode, though, don't thank us. Thank our patrons who give their actual, real-life money to make all of our work happen, always. And they do, and so we do. And isn't that great? Oh, thank you. Without you, there'd be a whole lot less Taliesin and Evitel. If you didn't like it, downvote the shit out of it. Remember, my name is Ramornia. No, my name is Taliesin from me.
And me, Evitel.
Until next time.
And next year.
Oh, yeah. Cheerio.